Alright, hello and welcome. Today I'll be showing you how we can make some PF Tech jars, brown rice flour, out of some upcycled materials. Nice jam jar with a taper. We've got small furniture tack, probably about 3mm thickness. Got to be large enough that we can fit a syringe needle through it afterwards. And it's just a little chock of wood that we're going to use to brace the underside of some jars. Alright, so now that you've finished your jam and you've cleaned your jars, and we've got some nice clean lids to work with, so we're going to get our little chock, fit it underneath the lid like so. This is to stop the lid collapsing when we try and drive the nail through. Then what we're going to do is make 4 holes on the compass points, avoiding this little area where the lid goes down or up, because that'll make it more difficult to tape up later. So let's just drive this nail in. Nice and easy. And there's our first hole. I'm going to do another 3 of these for this lid, and then another 3 lids, and then we'll talk about the next steps. Right, so that's this one completed. Nice and simple, 4 holes. As you see, we've gone from the outside to the inside because we have created just a bit of turned metal on the inside that would cut our micropore tape when we go to apply it. So, microporous tape will then go on top of these holes to start creating an air filter for our PF Tech, or brown rice flour tech. Right, and now as you can see from how far I've been nailing in, you don't have to drive the nail far. You're only looking for it to go in just deep enough to turn that inside metal, because if you drive it all the way, you're going to be creating more trouble when you try to remove it from the block. Right, here we have some PF Tech which is already fully colonized. You can tell it's fully colonized because it moves freely, and there appears to be no leftover grain. And it's just going to be taken from the jar and then soaked for 24 hours, just because over the colonization process it will have lost quite a lot of moisture, and this just rehydrates the blocks so that they're ready for fruiting conditions. Alright, so once you've got all your jars turned out and all your cakes are sat in a bowl or tub of water, what I like to do then is get a second tub, place it over the top, and just fill it with a couple of pints of water. This way you're just keeping the cakes submerged in the water in the lower tub. Just gives you more even hydration. These will sit for about 24 hours before getting rolled in vermiculite and put into fruiting conditions. Something else worth mentioning: after I've turned out the jars and I'm giving them a soak, giving the cakes a soak, I like to straight away get the jars in a really hot soapy water wash. This allows me to start prepping my next batch of cakes. Right, so this step's optional. You can buy your own brown rice flour already pre-floured, But if you can't find that option locally, you can take some organic brown rice. I suggest organic because if you're going to be eating them, you kind of want to avoid chemicals. We do know mushrooms are pretty good at bioaccumulating contaminants, and so stick with the cleanest material you can. And all we're going to do is get it in a nice little food blender. I typically only really do about 200 grams at a time, just enough for the cakes I'll be doing. So these go just into the blender. I'll try my best to save you the noise and show you what happens. Nice and straightforward. I'm sure you all know how to use your own blenders, so I won't be teaching you to suck eggs. Make sure it's in there nice and secure. Typically I give a few little blasts to warm the motor up. Right, so now we have a pretty nice fine flour. It can get a little bit warm, so you don't want to process it for too long in one go, but that's how we make brown rice flour. I also like to just decant it into a sealable jar. That way, if I have any excess, it's not going to get affected by any moisture in the air, and it's ready for the next time I'm looking to make cakes. Alright, so we're getting on to the final couple of steps now. We're going to be making up some brown rice flour cakes. Really simple. Going to do it by ratio rather than by volume, so then you can make this ratio no matter how much you're making. It's going to be 2 parts vermiculite, 1 part rice, 1 part water. So all these vessels are the same size, just measured to the same depth. So what I'm going to do first is just quickly dump the vermiculite in. Before I get too far ahead. There we go. Vermiculite. You can pick that up from most gardening stores. Anywhere that's got a gardening section outside will probably have some vermiculite around. So that's 2 poured in there. Now I'm going to be adding the water, giving this a really good mix through. Again, this is really simple because I'm making 3 jars. I just need 3 jars worth of volume. So now, just making sure all the vermiculite is nicely soaked, nice and evenly distributed moisture. This way, when I add the rice should hopefully stick to the vermiculite a little bit more evenly. Right, that's not too bad. Let's get the next one in. So. No, so like the stage, what you next form cakes ready. Let's get nice and even distribution now. Now we're gonna take our jar, nice and gently fill her up. So we're not trying to compact it, but we are trying to just make sure it settles nicely. Don't want to push it down. You want to keep a decent amount of air spaces. Maybe not quite that big, but that's not a problem. That's more than acceptable. Then we're going to fill it up till we've got between 1 centimetre and 1.5 centimetre gap at the top. I go just below the lip of the lid line. At which point, get yourself either an alcohol wipe or So isopropyl alcohol, 70%, and some kitchen roll. And now we're just gonna clean the inside rim of this jar. Nice, clean. Making sure we get all the little bits. Then this is gonna get just a nice layer on top, all the way to the top, with the clean vermiculite. Just like that. Then lid goes on top. And then we're going to take our micro pour tape. You don't need a lot of it. We've got one filter now with that clean vermiculite. We're going to create another second little filter now by covering each one of these holes. I mentioned at the start that you don't want to make your holes too close to the edge, because if they're in that little lip it can be quite difficult to get a nice seal on your micro pour tape. Now that those filters are in place, we'll get ourselves some kitchen foil. Personally, I tear off a strip about 2 inches wider than the lid, and rip it down the middle. 45-degree turn, and then that's going to go over the top. So this is to prevent any moisture getting in when we're pressure cooking, or if you're steam bathing. I'll be using a pressure cooker to sterilize these. But now that is ready to be pressure cooked. So I'm going to fill up another 2 jars, and I'll see you probably at the end. Alright, so guys, we got 4 jars out of that 3-jar mix. That's because I've filled them up a little bit higher than I normally would. I normally go for at least the thickness of my thumb rather than, say, pinky gap. Nice thick gap, but have a little play around, you'll find what works best for you. These are now destined to go into the pressure cooker for 60 minutes at 15 psi, and then after that they shall be ready to be inoculated. I believe that will probably be coming up in a follow-up video, but thanks for watching and best of luck to all of you.